Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Yapyat Sarvam Trilokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhu Cha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vedya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Jai Guru. Om Bhadram Karne Shriyama Devaha Bhadram Pashe Makshabhirya Jatra Stirai Rangai Sushuvagum Sastanubi Vyashema Devahitam Yadayu Swasti na Indro Vridhashravaha Swasti na Pusha Vishwavedaha Swasti nastaksho arishtanemi Swasti no brahaspatir dadatu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we are in third chapter, I think, second section. Is that correct?
Yes, on verse 7 today.
Mantra 7, chapter 3, second section, mantra 7.
Gata kala pascha dasha pratishtha devascha sarve pratidevatasu karmani vijnanam yascha atma pare vyaye sarva eki bhavanti. The 15 kalas parts enter into their elements. Their devatas senses stay into their corresponding devas deities, and by their deeds and their self full of knowledge, intellect self, all get united in the highest and imperishable Brahman.
Okay, so what are our 15 parts? 5 organs of action, 5 organs of knowledge. We can say the 5 pranas. I'm not sure how much Swamiji parses it, but it can also be mind, intellect, chitta, ahankriti, and the vasanas. What does he say which way he parses that?
He says 15 kalas. In the Prashna Upanishad, we have this discussion about the kalas. He said 16 kalas as follows: prana, faith, akasha, air, fire, water, earth, senses, mind, food, strength, penance, mantras, karmas, words.
Different ways to parse it. Anyway, what it means here is all the stuff of the equipments, the bodies, what happens to them at the moment of death. Now, listen very carefully. When we talk about what happens at the time of death, this can always be interpreted as a metaphor for the deepest meditation. in one of the dialogues of Plato. Did we talk about this last week?
I
No?
don't think so.
There's one called the Phaedo, which is the death of Socrates. Wonderful. He was executed for corrupting the youth because he gave them wisdom. He called the science of self-knowledge philosophy, philosophos. Philos is love. Sophos or Sophia is wisdom. So philosophy is the love of wisdom. It is vijnana. It's the same thing we talk about here. And what he says in the Phaedo, what else is the practice? What else is philosophy but the practice of dying? Why? Meditation. We withdraw our attention from the physical body, from the energy, the prana, from the manas, the mind, the feelings, from the thoughts of the intellect, even go beyond the sense of agency. Who am I? Down to being. What else is dying but the physical body goes back to the five gross elements. The subtle body goes back to the subtle elements. For the person of wisdom, even that karma is all that's left. So that's the deeper meaning of going beyond these 15 kalas or 16 kalas, however you want to parse it. Next idea.
Their devatas senses stay into their corresponding devas deities.
So remember in the Upanishads, deva comes from the root div, which means to shine. Has usually three meanings. The first is the presiding principle over a field of human endeavor. Come close to that with the English word, the muse. You're a musician. Oh, the muse was with me today. I wrote a whole lot of songs. So if you're propitiating the deity, if you're doing computer programming, you're propitiating the computer code God. It can mean the elements or the forces of nature. Forces of nature can also be considered the devas. Varuna, the god of the sea, Vayu, the god of the wind, etc. Indra, the thunderbolt. But it can also mean the sense organs because they light up the world. That's our way of perceiving, comprehending. So at the moment of death and at the deepest meditation, we have sense withdrawal. In the Raja Yoga tradition, it's called pratyahara. In the Vedanta tradition, we call it upadati, the withdrawal of the senses. Gita uses this metaphor like a tortoise, which withdraws its head and its forelimbs into its shell. So the yogi needs to be able to disengage from the phenomenon. So at the moment of death, the senses all reside in their centers. They're not gushing out. Actually, we all have the capacity for upadati all the time. So I think you're a reader, aren't you?
Yeah, I read books.
Yeah. Have you ever had the experience where you're all lost in a book and he's making dinner and he says dinner's ready, you don't even hear him?
Yes.
Upadati. So what was the key? Concentration. Concentration is the key to successful upadati. You can't block out the world. First in yoga, we have the example, don't think about the elephant, don't think about its long trunk, don't think about its massive tusks. That does no good. I'm not going to listen to the traffic. I'm not going to listen to the traffic. Doesn't work. So stay focused on your point of meditation. That's the key to sense withdrawal. So again, two meanings. The senses all gather to the sense centers at the moment of death, but also at the highest meditation. Next idea.
And by their deeds and their self, full of knowledge, intellectual self, all get united in the highest and imperishable prana.
So we merge everything into the infinite. What do we mean by that? For example, where do the elements of your dream go when you wake up? Oh, I have to take the horse and put it in the drawer, and then I have to take the car and put it in the drawer. I have to take my spouse and put it in the drawer so they're there for the next time I dream. No. They merge into the unmanifest mind. And wake up. So Vedanta posits that all this is like a dream. Stop the mind and you stop the world. So for the jnani at the moment of death, all that is merged into the infinite. It just gets still, like the waves of the ocean that get merged into the ocean after the storm. But in meditation, it all just merges into the infinite. Now, language falls short. Many of us, and we will do it in this group, at some point we will study Mundakopanishad with the Gaudapada Karika. In the 4th chapter, anybody remember the title of the 4th chapter? And what's that mean?
Movement of the firebrand.
Shanti, the quenching or the pacification, the quenching of the firebrand. So the idea is there you are, say you're out camping, you have a bonfire, and you take a stick, firebrand, at night, and you go like this, and you make a circle with the firebrand. But Diwali coming up, you'll do it with the sparkler. So when the point of the sparkler or the firebrand is moving, the circle appears to exist. That is like the mind. When the mind is moving, when it is thoughting, ego exists, thoughts exist, judgments exist, feelings exist, sense perception exists, the world seems to exist. Thin the mind, and the whole world starts to thin out. Stop the mind, and the world is no longer perceived. When I'm making the circle in the firebrand, and I stop moving the burning stick, where does the circle go? Is it merged into the stick? Is it like a fishing reel? Cast the fishing reel. Is that the world? No. Is that what happens? No. It doesn't emerge and then merge back. It's the best language we can find. But in the image of the Alata Shanti, the circle appears, and when the tip, it's moving, where did it go? It didn't go anywhere because it was never really there. It was an optical illusion. Sarvam idam eva swapnai. All this is, as it were, like a dream. So in meditation, even if for a moment we have this absolute quiescence, most important thing is the personal sense of self falls. The world, though appearing, you have your eyes open. Now, thin the mind and you thin the world. One of the things Swami Tejomayananda used to say all the time. Do you know how to get rid of your worries? Quit worrying. That's all we have to do. Endeavor to keep the mind out of the dead past and the unborn future. Stay here. Stay down. So this is the deeper meaning of merging the world into self. Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. All this is nothing but consciousness. Brahma, Satyam. Brahma alone is real. Jagat, the names and forms seen. Next idea.
That was the end.
Okay. Any thoughts or questions? So it is, talks about the death of the Jnani, but more importantly, this is what happens in the deepest meditation. We are not endeavoring to see something, to gain something, to achieve something. We're endeavoring to get rid of everything that's get ridable. What do I mean? Just withdraw my attention from it. Withdraw my belief in its reality. All right, next mantra.
Yatha nadhya syandamanaha samudristam gachanti namarupe vihaya तथा विद्वान् नामरूपाद्विमुक्तः परात्परं पुरुषम् अपैति दिव्यम्. As flowing rivers get themselves disappeared in the ocean, losing their special names and distinct forms, so the wise person, free from all their identification with names and forms, goes unto the highest of the high, the supreme divinity.
Yeah. So again, this is poetry. The idea that all these rivers flow into the sea, and this sense of the individuality of a river. Is it the Mississippi? Is it the Colorado? Is it the Ganga? They all merge, as it were, with the ocean. Again, it's not about merging necessarily. What happens in the deepest meditation? As long as there's still some vasana, there's this essential non-apprehension of the self, this projection of the karta, sense of agency. I think I'm an individual. So for a long time, you may get the sense, okay, I get the sense that I'm just witnessing consciousness, but it feels like I'm an individual witnessing consciousness. See the world. I have not yet gotten to the place where that sense of individuality disappears. When all the attachments and identifications are gone. Tell you it's real. Personal sense of self evaporates. It's gone. Ready to go? 0 minute ago. For some, it may come back. For others, it becomes permanent. The truth is, our bodies are different. Feelings are different. Thoughts are different. Our ideas of self may be different. But the ground of being, witnessing consciousness, only one of us here. Don't believe me? And it's not to be achieved necessarily by gripping the mind into silence. Yes, it takes some discipline. But the real problem is attachment, identification, having a goal for which I'm working. Who's going towards the goal? It's interesting, I'm going through a text with someone who's Buddhist, and it's by Bikram Bodhi, I think his name. It's a discussion on the Eightfold Path, the Noble Eightfold Path. And we're going through a section on right view. And in this one section, we're talking about the highest notion of right view. It's identical with the Vedanta. But he doesn't cut any corners. He doesn't sugarcoat it. He says that the Buddha says the precondition to right view is complete renunciation. In the early days of Buddhism, the teaching was, they call it the Theravada path. Others call it the Hinayana path, the little view. Basically, what it meant, it was for monastics only. Then you have the Mahayana tradition where ordinary people, householders, could practice. It's the same in the Vedanta tradition. All have to become sannyasis. Does that mean become a monastic, an ascetic? Yes and no. Like the Buddhist tradition, it is possible to have a job, have a relationship, have children. But I tell you, that's the harder way. It's much easier. For many years, the head of the Divine Life Society, the Shivananda tradition, this marvelous Saint Chidananda. Wonderful, wonderful man. He took sannyas literally the same time as Swami Chinmayananda. They were dear, dear friends. Chinmaya passed before him. But before Chinmaya left the body, one of the things Chidananda said about him, oh, Chinmaya, he's all ashanti, so then we can be shanti. Chinmaya's prarabdha was to work in the world. Traveled around the world 365 days a year, these jnana yajnas, constantly teaching, 40 books, started schools, hospitals, microeconomies, would speak to the Rotary Club. Other Mahatmas, they stay up in Rishikesh, in an ashram, without the worldly concerns. Easier that way. You'll know what you need to do. Your own prarabdha will lead you. Your own prarabdha. But inside, must give everything up. All is mine to use, none is mine to own. Most importantly, renounce all struggle. Give up the notion. Be happy then. It'll be better if, or better, different. Don't be addicted to more. I call people like that morons. There is a tradition. You don't have to do this if you don't want. But if you are not formally a sannyasi, but you want to live the interior life of sannyas, in India, people will wear orange underwear. I'm not making this up. I can remember Swamiji's servant, Shivaram. And one time we were up in Siddhabadi and he was wearing a dhoti. You wear white. But it was very hot and he happened to wear one that was very thin cotton. And I could see it. He didn't wear jockeys. What he wore was, I don't even know what you call it. It's like a cloth thing you wrap around and tuck in. Is there a name for that?
Langoted. That's
Underwear?
Yeah.
Yeah, he had, but it was bright orange. See through his little, yeah, that's what he's wearing. Because inside, he was a sannyasi. All right, did we get all the pieces of this verse?
Yeah.
All right, next one.
Sayoha vai tatparam brahmaveda brahmaiva bhavati nasya brahma vikule bhavati tarati chokam tarati papmanam guha grantibhyo mukto mrito bhavati. He who knows that Supreme Brahman becomes Brahman, and in his line, family, none who knows not the Brahman will ever be born. He crosses grief, crosses sin, and being free from the knots of the heart becomes immortal.
Yes. So here he kind of puts the customer in touch with the benefits of the product, as many of the Upanishads do. So in a traditional Hindu family, who is the child's first guru?
Parents.
The parents. So there is enormous punya, merit. If we're born into a family of parents who are realized, it's no guarantee you're not going to go out and be a heroin addict. But you have a chance of being raised with essentially no veil. There are some blessed souls who have this. In Gita, it says that if you don't attain self-realization in this lifetime, don't worry. Your next life, you will be born into a family of noble souls who themselves are steeped in knowledge. You'll be united with your yoga, and it goes fast. My devotee is never lost. So, if you are Sthita Prajna, person of steady wisdom, the implication here is you have a family. Talked about in the last verse the importance of sannyas. Again, doesn't always mean becoming a monastic. But what we have here is what's called the Guru Shishya Parampara. People say to me, ask me, well, what was it, Jim, that attracted you to the Vedanta? I love the Vedanta, love it very, very much. But that's not what happened. I didn't read a bunch of books and decide, oh, I like this philosophy. It was a relationship with a person. And that's Swamiji. And he had what I wanted. It's that simple. Not only did he have what I wanted, but he very clearly had the capacity to transmit it. Even from the early beginning, I would have glimpses of my own self-nature over and over again. He would take our minds and turn them back upon the self. Had a conversation a few weeks ago with someone who has a different guru. Sure, the guru is a great Mahatma, but this person is telling me how wonderful her guru is. Oh, her guru is an avatar. Her guru does this. Her guru does that. Oh, so powerful. Oh, she's working on me on the interior. Oh, maybe in another 15 lifetimes I'll be realized. It's fine. But if you look at the essence of the relationship, stand back and look. What's in this person's mind is how wonderful the guru is. That's good. You should love your guru. I got from Swamiji. It's how glorious self is. Myself. He would disappear. Be lost in the vision of the infinite. So those of us who studied Tripura Rahasyam in that beginning section, very long, about 1/4 of the whole text. It's a story of Hemaleka and Hemachuda. And what is the point that Dattatreya, our sage, is telling us through this story? What is the root cause of liberation? Anybody remember? Association with the wise. If we have great punya, great grace and merit, to meet somebody who knows what the F they're talking about. Marvelous things happen. So all of this is implied in this notion of nobody in your line will not be a knower of Brahman. Comes out with a bunch of double negatives in the English. What's the next idea?
He who knows that Supreme Brahman becomes Brahman, and in his line, none who knows not the Brahman will ever be born.
Yes. So to know Brahman is to know that you are Brahman. Indirect knowledge is, I know that Brahman is. Direct knowledge is, I am Brahman. Then that Guru Shishya Parampara takes place. Either from your parents or from some other guru. All right, next mantra.
Sorry, there's one more line.
Oh.
He crosses grief, crosses sin, and being free from the knots of the heart becomes immortal.
So the grief, the sin are all the effects of spiritual ignorance. And Gita, second chapter, verse 11, Krishna says, you grieve for whom you should not grieve, though you speak words of wisdom. The wise grieve neither for the living nor the dead. I was talking with another young man who's a Christian, and he's a high school teacher, and he's got a class that's studying Gita. So we've been talking about it. I came upon this line. He doesn't like it at all. Of course, we should grieve. The grief indicates how much we love. What we want is connection. Attachment is good. This is my love. Oh, I'm not sure I like this Gita. I mean, it's nihilistic. How is it that Arjuna is not going to be upset killing his cousins? And what's the problem? If we see from the viewpoint of identification of the ego, this teaching makes no sense. The knots of the heart, first of all, ignorance. And Jiva Bhavana, the sense that I'm a person. I'm in struggle. All of this is wrong. Nothing more to do, nothing to achieve, nowhere to go. Well, then I'll just sit there like a bump on the log. The body will act. Don't worry. Has your heart been beating this morning? Sure? Have you been thinking about it? No, 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 no. Jim, what are you doing by making my heart beat? No, 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 no. What are you doing with that funny face? Oh, my hair needs to grow today. You do not need a struggling ego for action to take place. That's the great revelation. Master Jesus had a wonderful way of saying, consider the lilies of the field. They neither spin nor sow. But Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed as one of these. Donald Trump's golden toilets at Mar-a-Lago are not nearly as beautiful walking across the street and seeing the glory of a giant red. So the marks of the person of steady wisdom are just indicated here. Again, if we want a deeper journey into what that's like, go back to Gita chapter 2, that last 18 verses, the Sthita Prajna Purusha section, the marks of a person of steady wisdom. Next mantra.
तदेदृच्छाभ्युक्तं क्रियावन्त श्रोत्रिया ब्रह्मनिष्ठाः स्वयं जुह्वत् एकर्षिन् शुद्धयन्तः तेषां मयि वैशां ब्रह्मविद्यां वदेत् शिरो वरत्तं विधिबद्धेस्तु चीर्णम्. This very doctrine has been explained in a Veda mantra Richa as follows. To them alone, let one teach this knowledge of Brahman, who perform rituals, who read and study the Vedas, who pursue the meditations upon Brahman, who possess faith and offer oblations themselves to the fire called Ekarshi, and who have observed strictly the Shiro Vrata.
I don't know what Shiro Vrata is.
I think it's a vow, some sort of a vow.
But the idea here is you do not need to be a religious Hindu. This is metaphor. What this verse is talking about is for whom is this text? For whom is this knowledge available? Through hundreds and hundreds of years, Hindu society set up guards to the Vedanta. Only Brahmins can study the Vedanta. Only Brahmin men can study the Vedanta. Oh, you need to learn Sanskrit to do this. You can't even take sannyas unless you're a Brahmin. All these strictures. We don't need to do that. That's all false. The knowledge is available to anyone and everyone. But the knowledge has its own guardians, which stand at the door of the temple of the knowledge. They're not people. Those guardians are knowledge's resistance to minds grossly extroverted into the world. Oh, I can't come to class this morning. I was out too late last night. I got drunk. I have a hangover. Oh, Jim, I'm going to miss the next 6 weeks. I've got a dance class I'm taking. Oh, Jim, I overslept class this morning. I was up watching Netflix till 4 in the morning. I'm not sure this works, Jim. I'm going to take a prosperity class. We have all sorts of reasons why the mind being too gross it's not attracted to the life of deep introversion. Or here's another one. People come to class because they like intellectually the Vedanta, and they make a high when they're here. Are you meditating every day? Oh no, haven't had time. I've got really busy life. Knock yourself out. Antithetically, another person may have a lot of gross vasanas. Intense momokshadva. Are you meditating? Yes. How much? I put at least an hour, sometimes 2 every day. Jai, you're going to get results. Or, more common, I want to hang on to my attachments and still get the knowledge. That's fine. And Gita Krishna says even a little of this knowledge frees us from great fear. If you're totally extroverted in the world, just a little bit of detachment. Was talking with a student yesterday afternoon, and what's his title? He's a district manager for the FAA. Pretty high up there, mucky muck. And they had a retreat for team building. We're there in Seattle. There's 8 or 9 of them, all these district managers. You're dissing me. These are microaggressions. All these people having all these things. I am not being respected. They talk to this fellow. How do you stay so mellow? Oh, I just kind of stand back and witness it all. It's a good yogi. So practical. So practical. Not get all caught up. Craziness. So, if you have the yamas and the niyamas as they're put forward in Raja Yoga, or the qualifications of a fit student as they're put forward in the Vedanta. And here we have a list. Let's go through the list if we can, please.
Let one teach this knowledge of Brahman who perform rituals, who read and study the
Let's
Vedas.
start. Perform rituals. What are the preconditions? We have to warm the heart. We have to love God even before we're able to retire into self-inquiry. It's a major practice that we go through. It's not the ritual itself, it's the warmed and devoted heart, the padama prema. That's a prerequisite. So who does ritual? What's the next one?
Who read and study the Vedas.
Yes. So we need to have an informed understanding of the path and the goal. So especially for Westerners, but also for Indians. I like what Shankara says. Without knowledge of the self, study of the scriptures is futile. We get all lost and caught up, misunderstanding commentaries, etc. And he says, with knowledge of the self, study of the scriptures is again futile. We've become an Upanishad. We have no need of the scriptures anymore. Why does it say study of the scriptures? The scriptures are the bridge by which the knowledge is passed from the Guru to the Shishya, the disciple. And then we do our own swadhyaya, our own self-study, after having heard the teaching from the Guru. Next idea.
To pursue the meditations upon Brahman.
So again, after we have to some degree developed a sattvic mind, meditate on Brahman. Not, oh, Brahman has 3 heads, 4 arms, stuff like that. We don't need that. All be reduced to the 4 Mahavakyas. Jnanam Brahma. Brahman is consciousness. It's not a form. Where is it? Atma Brahma. This self is Brahman. Oh, Guruji, you're Brahman, I'm a worm. No. Tat Twamasi. You are that. This is called the Upadesha Mahavakya, the instructional one. All of the branches of yoga are implied in that. Koham, who are you? And the last one is the ecstatic exclamation at the point of realization. Not I know Brahman, but Aham Brahmasmi. I am. Next idea.
Who possess faith.
Shraddha. Talk about it. You have to have faith that this is going to work. And you get the opposite idea from the society. If you get a bigger house, if you get a bigger title, if you get a bigger job, if you get more jewelry, fancier clothes, bigger car. That's a faith that no, even though this path is countercultural, it works. Next idea.
Offer oblations themselves to the fire called Ekarshi.
Actually, this idea of offering oblations to the god has silliness about it. I can remember Swamiji talking about, he was at the Mumbai ashram and they were going to do Pada Puja. Pada Puja is where you do a ritual where you worship the feet of the Guru. And this woman had gathered flowers from the garden in the ashram. So Swamiji said, gathering flowers to do Pada Puja. So you're going to give my own flowers to me? My ashram. The truth is, we can't give anything in this world to the God that isn't the God's already. With one possible exception. Our own patience, our defilements, our afflictions, our own doshas, defects of character. Those are ours. real oblation is, my creator, I am now willing for you to have all of me, good and bad. Uncreate me and recreate me this day as you would have me. That's the only effective oblation in the end. Flowers or ghee. They're just symbols. Next idea.
Who have observed strictly the Shirovrata, and Shirovrata is carrying fire, a vow of carrying fire on the head.
I'm not sure what the mystic symbolism of this is, so
Swamiji says it's having an intellect that's on fire, demanding to know an immediate way out.
that's works for me. All right, and is there one more mantra?
Sure. Tadetat satyam risharangaraha purovach naitat chirna vratodhite nama paramarishyabhyo namaha paramarishyabhyah iti Mundakopanishadi Dvitiyamukhanda Dvitiyakhandaha. That this is the truth. Rishi Angira communicated this to his disciples in ancient times. No one who has not observed any vow renunciation is fit to study this. Our salutations to the great sages, our prostrations to the great seers.
So again, the overall precondition to effective internalizing of this knowledge is mature vairagya. How do we achieve this? Kama, craving. I think the solution, what it's about, actualize my desires. Dukkha, suffering. I don't have what I want. I'm not getting my needs met. I just find that the silliest. And I have this couple. The girl says to the guy, I'm not getting my needs met in this relationship. You know, that's a way to dress up. I'm not getting what I want. Desires are in. But a mature yogi sees that the kama, the craving, the dukkha, they are the same. So what are we to do? It's so easy, so simple in the end. Easy to say, but so easy to do. Abhyasa, practice, meditate, renounce. All right, is that the end?
That is the end.
Okay, so as we always do when we finish a text, we go back and repeat the first one.
Om Brahma Deva Naha Prathama Sambhabhuva Vishwasya Karta Bhuvanasya Gopta Sa Brahma Vidyam Sarva Vidya Pratishtham Atharvaya Jyeshtha Putraya Praha. Of the gods, Brahma, the creator and the protector of the universe, was self-born, first gave out the knowledge of reality, Brahma Vidya, the knowledge of all knowledges, the foundation for all sciences, to his own eldest son, Atharva.
So again, you now had one time through. The rest of it now is your own swadhyaya, your own self-study of the scripture. with Swamiji's commentary. We don't end our study. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om.